The WIAA, which is the governing body for athletics in the public school system in Washington state, there were two amendments that have been introduced to change the policy around what category transgender athletes can compete in. Can they compete with girls if they're a biological boy? Can they compete with boys if they're a biological girl? This has gone above and beyond the realm of just a culture war issue. To me, it speaks fundamentally to a lack of sanity, a lack of common sense that is just being accepted as normal and okay by far too many people. This idea that at levels, I mean, we did a story about a 6-year-old girl who was doing a fun track competition in the summer, something for her parents brought her to just to waste time in the summer and keep her busy. And it's a picture of her standing next to a sign that basically says girls, or, people who think they're girls, I mean, in, a much whatever more nuanced way. But this is happening at all levels, this idea that we think it's okay for a biological boy, whether it's a 6-year-old or a high schooler or a collegiate athlete or at the freaking Olympics, a biological man to compete against a woman. And we act as if, no, that's perfectly rational and sane. And it's not. And I don't think the majority of Americans believe that, not even close. But I do think there's a lot of reasonable Americans who refuse to speak out about it. So this is your opportunity. If in deep blue, identity-obsessed Washington state, we can turn the tide on this issue with this opportunity that has been presented to us through these amendments, I really believe that will be the downfall of this specific brand of extreme gender ideology in the United States. So here's what's going on. There's two amendments that have been introduced, again, to change the WIAA bylaws, essentially. Amendment 7 and Amendment 8. Both of them achieve the same thing. Both of them would keep biological boys out of girls' sports, but it goes about it in different ways. So I want to lay out Amendment 7 and Amendment 8 to you so you can decide which one you think you prefer, and then we can talk about what we're going to do from there to try to get one of these amendments adopted. So let's start with Amendment 7, gender identity participation. It says the WIAA encourages participation for all students regardless of their gender identity or expression. Further, most local, state, and federal rules and regulations require schools to provide transgender and other gender diverse student athletes with equal opportunities to participate in athletics. However, and this would be, again, the changed language. However, in order to maintain fair and equitable competition, participation in girls' sports and girls' divisions of sports is restricted to students who were assigned female at birth. It says that the policy is modeled after Alaska's program, which replaces boys' sports with an open division for all student athletes, while also creating eligibility restrictions for girls' sports and girls' divisions. And I'm going to say every single school district that helped to introduce this amendment, because this is what happens. A school district comes forward with an amendment, and there are several that are listed here, and I want to give them credit for introducing this amendment before I explain some of this additional specifics. It was submitted by the Linden School District, the Blaine School District, Nicole's alma mater, Brewster School District, Kashmir School District, Colville School District, Grand Coulee Dam School District, Lake Chelan School District, Linden Christian School, Mansfield School District, Meade School District, Okanagan School District, Omak, Oroville, and Tonasket School Districts. Thank you to each and every one of you for being willing to put your name on this amendment. So in essence, what it does is it says girls compete with girls, and then everyone else competes in what was the boys division, but becomes more of an open division, so to speak. So Amendment 8 is a little bit different than that. But again, the same general principle. We're going to protect girls' sports because they're biologically much different than boys, and having boys compete against them is stupid. So this is Amendment number 8. It says all students have the opportunity to participate in WIAA athletics and or activities in a manner that is consistent with their gender identity. Athletic programs will be offered separately for boys, girls, and an open division for all students interested, as outlined in Appendix 2. So it's creating basically a third division. Girls is girls, boys is boys, and then people who feel like they're not a girl or a boy can compete in a new third division entirely. This was submitted by the Eastmont School District, Kashmir School District, Colville, Linden, Meade, Moses Lake, and Thorpe School District. Again, thank you to each and every one of those school districts for having the bravery, and yes, that's apparently what it takes in today's climate, to put this amendment forth. So you can see the two differences here. In the first, the Amendment 7, you keep two distinct divisions, one girls and one is open. In the other one, you create a third division where if someone feels like they don't want to participate with the boys or the girls, then they can have their own third division and be the champion of that division or whatever it is. So how did we kind of get to this place? I really believe that one of the reasons you're seeing so many school districts step up and push back against the insane existing policy within the WIAA that says that athletic programs are offered separately for boys and girls, except that students can participate in the sport consistent with their gender identity. So basically, you can just be like, I'm a girl and I'm going to participate against girls. I think one of the reasons you're seeing so much pushback against this is because student athletes have started to speak up. And we said all along, I thought that that would be the most powerful voice that could come out of all of this, is young people who are being screwed over by the system. Young girls in particular. One of them who we've talked about on the show, I emceed an event in Wenatchee. The keynote speaker was Riley Gaines. But before Riley, almost, and I would argue more powerful even than Riley's remarks, were remarks from a 14-year-old girl named Annalie, who we talked about on the show previously, although we had never used her name until she decided to come out and speak publicly. She placed second at the Junior Olympics track meet in Kashmir, and she placed second to a biological boy. And she didn't realize that she would be running against a biological boy until she lined up on the start line and realized that the young person next to her seemed to be built a lot different. And then she finally got confirmation after the race, after she lost, here thinking she's the best in the state at what she does, she always had been, that it was a boy that she had lost to. So she spoke at this event in Wenatchee, and her speech has now been viewed millions of times across the country.
No matter where you stand, failing to protect women's sports is wrong. So much hate and conflict has come from both sides. The things I have heard about this transgender athlete and me are awful and damaging. I am only 14 and I shouldn't have to deal with these kinds of adult issues. But here I am. But here I am, speaking up, hoping that adults will step up and do what is right to protect and keep women's sports fair and safe for biological girls.
Yeah, her remarks were really powerful and they were compassionate. It wasn't about vilifying transgender athletes. It was about saying, as she referred to there, it's not fair for me and it's not fair for them either. You look at the hate and the vitriol that is surrounding this issue, and it really just comes down to an issue of common sense. It's not about hating any of these athletes. They're doing what the system allows them to do. And so I think she captured that really well. And so Annalie's remarks went absolutely viral all over the internet. And one of the things I said when we first played it is, I wish that every single politician would watch that speech from that 14-year-old girl and then have to state publicly on the record where they stand on this issue. Because I think I think if every American watches that clip, it's a 99% issue where they say, yeah, that's not fair what we're doing to that young girl and other young girls like her, and to collegiate athletes or athletes at the highest levels of their sport who all of a sudden are faced with an insurmountable task of having to compete against someone who's biologically bigger, faster, stronger than them. So Annalie, I give her a lot of credit. I think that is what her being willing to stand there and speak up as a 14-year-old who's been subjected online to, as you can imagine, hate and vitriol over her position on this. I think there's a lot of adults who saw that and said, okay, if she can do it, I can do it too. And now you have these amendments that are being considered by the WIAA. Of course, I wanted to reach out to Annalie's family to get them to react to this. So Annalie's mom, Elizabeth Wilson, joins us. Elizabeth, welcome to Undivided.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a good day. I don't know, were you surprised by this? Because I wasn't expecting it. I didn't even know it was being discussed. And then I saw it on social media. I was like, what happened? Did you know it was being discussed?
No, we did not know. We actually were really shocked and surprised. We had no idea that they were even considering this.
Yeah, so there's a lot of school districts that were part of one of these two proposals. I will say, the big school districts, some of the school districts like, around the Seattle area were not. So that concerns me. I guess a proposal is only a proposal. So how hopeful are you that one of these could get across the finish line?
Honestly, I was thinking about that this morning, and like you said, I'm hoping. Again, I wasn't expecting this, so just even the fact that they're talking about it
Yeah.
gives me a lot of hope. So I have to keep that part of just thinking like, okay, we're on the right track. At least people are talking about it.
What was Annalie's reaction when you told her?
Well, I actually wasn't home. I actually got somebody sent it to me, and I was jumping up and down and almost in tears. Like, I can't believe it. And my husband was home when he got it, and he resent it to me, and he went in there, and she was just really excited. And I sent her a message this morning again, just telling her how proud I am of her. And she's like, I just hope that they listen. I hope that this really works out. So she's just really excited. And again, she's pretty humble. She doesn't, she's not one to get super excited, but I could tell she was just proud and just excited that this is heading in this direction, that we're talking about it.
Yeah, she should be proud. I got goosebumps when you said that, just being proud of her because, I mean, she did something simple, which is just speak up and tell her experience. But, the speech she gave over in Wenatchee has been viewed millions of times across the country. And so what has this sort of journey so far been like for her?
I mean, we've kind of talked about it of just telling her that she's helping to change something to get that conversation going. And it's not been easy. We've discussed this, that it hasn't been easy, and it's not always easy doing what is right. It's not popular and it's hard. But as we've discussed, it's brought up lots of conversations in our home of just, we want to raise good human beings that will stand up and do what is right and fight for what is right, and what you feel in your heart is right. And so we've had this discussion with our boys and her of just how proud of them we are that she's willing to use her voice. And again, this isn't easy for her. She is the kid that just last week she came home almost in tears, telling me in English class she had to speak in front of everybody and almost was in tears and left the classroom. And for her to stand up in front of 500 adults with love and compassion and with that drive to do what is right, it just still blows me away. Because again, just last week she ran from the classroom almost in a panic attack because she had to give a presentation or talk in front of the class. So it's just incredible that she did that.
Yeah, and it's funny because your husband was on the show with us previously, and I could tell he didn't want to be there. He's like, he was uncomfortable doing an interview, and so we basically talked to the whole family at this point. But it's important, and I think those are the stories that matter the most. It's one thing for me to say it; it's another thing for a 14-year-old who lived through it to talk about it. Elizabeth, are there one of these amendments that you prefer? So Amendment 7 and Amendment 8, they would do different things. They would both protect girls' sports, but one amendment would say there's a third category that's an open category. The other amendment would just say, look, if you're gender diverse, then you have to participate with the boys.
Yes, and I did see that, and I actually was pondering on that this morning, and and I'm not a boy, and I don't know how the boys would feel about that. And I mean, and I was thinking about it. Most of the transgender athletes that are competing, they're not female that have transitioned to boys competing, right? These are boys that want to be female that are competing with girls. So then at the same time, I'm like, well, I guess they would still be competing with boys. So essentially the same, they're competing with what they were biologically, what they biologically are. So that's what I keep thinking. So I don't know. Like, I guess having the third category would maybe help, with everyone thinking that it's hateful, or I don't know. It's kind of a tough thing I was thinking about because I haven't heard of any stories of females that are transitioned to boys that are competing with boys, so I don't know if that, I don't know.
Yeah. I tend to think if they have an open category, nobody will be in it. So I don't know how that would work out. I'm good with either of these because it's progress, certainly. So the very last thing is, I like to think that you and your family had a lot to do with these amendments being put forth. And one of the things that you've done on your social media pages is encouraged parents to be emailing the WIAA. So what needs to happen between now and when they vote on these proposals at the end of January?
Well, yeah, like you said, we need to keep emailing them and letting them know which proposal that you agree with, letting them know that we want this change continuing. And again, yes, our family, I feel like, well, mainly Anna Lee, really made that impact. But also our community, like our village, helping back us up, like I called out for people to fill our Eastmont boardroom. I'm so proud of our Eastmont board that they had the courage to put their name out there and to get other schools to sign on. Eastmont was a big push for that, and I am so proud of them. And so we need that still. We need parents to continue to email the WIA and tell them that we want this. We want change. We need them to protect our kids, female athletes and also transgender athletes. Because again, this isn't working. Like Annalise said, this isn't working. So let's make something work for everybody.
100%. All right. We're in the fight with you guys, Elizabeth, and we'll use our platform to try to get those emails coming in as well. And we'll hope that they make the right decision in January. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye.
So here's the deal. The deal is, are you braver than a 14-year-old? Annalise pretty brave, but I think that we can stand up and help her. If she's willing to stand up in front of a room full of 500 adults, share her story all across the country, deal with the hate that has come her way after those remarks being viewed millions of times. If she can do that, can we stand up for her and athletes like her? Remember what she said at the end of her remarks.
Here I am, speaking up, hoping that adults will step up and do what is right to protect and keep women's sports fair and safe for biological girls.
So she needs adults to step up and do what's right. And so that's what we're going to do for the next 47 days. The next time that the WIAA is going to meet to talk about these amendments is January the 27th. That's 47 days from now. So here's what each and every one of you can do. It's very easy. And I will share this graphic as well, so you can share it on your social media pages. You need to email the WIAA. Mick Hoffman, sorry, man, you're going to be getting a lot of emails, but you are the head of the WIAA. And so I'm hoping that he receives them and he reads them and keep them civil. This isn't about attacking anyone. This is not about, and if you make it about attacking transgender kids, then this is not going to go the way that we want it to go. And so this is about, you guys know this, about being civil and about sharing why it is important to protect girls' sports. And I'll tell you what, we know, in his email, by the way, if you're just listening on podcast, mhoffman@wiaa.com, mhoffman@wiaa.com. Please keep your emails civil and to the point. Share your support for amendments 7 and 8, or 7 or 8, whichever one you prefer. Do it today. Have your friends and family do it as well. But we know how things get done in this state. We know how things have always gotten done in this state. Loudest voice in the room wins. I don't like that that's the case, but we know that the loudest voice in the room has always been people on the far fringes of the issues. We know that some of these issues around radical gender ideology, they've only been pushed and accepted because people are afraid to stand up to the loudest voice in the room because they're scary, and they do things like protest you. They protested us, called us transphobes. I'm sure we'll get called transphobes for this. They attacked verbally, Annalie, a 14-year-old girl, for simply sharing her experience. And so you can expect some of that if you speak out, for sure. But the question is, are sane, rational people ready to be the loudest voice in the room? Because you already know the far left. You already know the identity-obsessed people who cannot see reason are going to be emailing the WIAA about this. You know that. You know they already are. So the question is, can we do it in larger numbers? And can we do it in a way that's civil and sane and where we lay out our argument? That's what we have to do for the next 47 days. That's what we have to do for athletes like Annalie, who have spoken up, and the athletes who have not spoken up because they have not found the courage to do so, and understandably so, because these are their peers. So we have to do this for them again. Email Mick Hoffman at the WIAA. His email, mhoffman@wiaa.com, mhoffman@wiaa.com. If we can usher this change in a state like Washington that has been at the forefront of some of these extreme gender ideology and policies, then it can happen everywhere else in the country. And I promise you the dominoes will fall. So let's be the first ones to do it here. Of the blue states, of the progressive states who've gone in this direction, let's be the first ones to unwind it.